Happy New Year, one and all, and welcome to another TMG interview here at the Movie Guys. My name is Paul Preston. This week we're diving deep into an indie. Nothing more I enjoy than stories from the front lines about making an indie film. And this one is about a baby born in a hospital whose nurse decides to smuggle him out of the hospital's care and show him an adventure. Why?
Yes.
Because the baby is aging 4 years per hour. And so clearly he's got like a day. He's got to go full Howard Jones, live life in one day. She doesn't want him to be poked and prodded by medical staff and the officials and the authorities who are in the way. The title is Tom of Your Life, and the filmmaker here to chat it up is Jeremy Sklar. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, Paul.
Greetings.
How are you?
So the tagline, what would you do if you were living the entire human lifespan in one day? Road trip. I mean, I'm sold. But what else do people need to know out there to look up Tom of Your Life, find it, and watch it?
That's funny. That log line was written by the executive producer, my brother Chuck Sklar, who's kind of like a name, and he's like an Emmy Award-winning comedy writer. Works a lot with Chris Rock, and I haven't heard that tagline in a while. It's good.
Yeah, well, there's another one on the PDF. I think it was like aging, born this morning, aging 4 years an hour. It's going to be a day or something like that.
Yeah. We couldn't ever quite decide on that. And sort of, yeah. But I love the way you actually set up the pitch of this movie, because it was like, and a nurse smuggles a baby out of the hospital. Like, it sounds like a horror movie. It sounds awful. But it's yes, it's it's a comedy drama. Very much in a I was very inspired by the kind of a trio of movies of Hal Ashby. He's sort of the patron saint, quite honestly, of a lot of independent filmmakers. Really, that's not really an original thought. He's a real genius filmmaker of the '70s who made Harold and Maude and
Being There and The Last Detail. I think of the other.
Thank you. Hal Ashby really inspired me with Being There and The Last Detail and Harold and Maude, and those trio of movies were very influential to me to tell a kind of a fable of sorts, because obviously it's a ridiculous premise. Like, what do you mean a boy is aging, or a child is aging 4 years each hour? It sounds like it's going to be like, ridiculous. And I wanted to just sort of, make a movie that was just grounded in magic realism, really. Just sort of like, okay, we got this kind of insane premise going on that really nobody can buy. You're not really going to buy it, and then just let's just leave it alone. Let's not even get into like explaining. It's not a disease movie. It's not a medical, like, will they find the cure? We're in the hospital. Like, no, it's a road trip movie with two opposite paired people, a very high strung, kind of stressed out nurse who's got her own life problems going on, and it's very much her story in a lot of ways. I mean, I was very interested in exploring her story, because who could relate to someone growing and aging and evolving 4 years each hour? That's impossible. But the question that was interesting to me would be, what if you were in charge of somebody, or what if you were the chaperone or nurse of somebody who was going through that, and you were assigned the task of like, all right, well, they're going to go through the entire lifespan in basically 24 or so hours. What is life to you? What would be the milestones? What would be the things you would really, you only got 24 hours. What can you do? You got a car, you got some cash. What would you want to show them about life? And in doing that, causing you, being the nurse, to sort of re-examine, like, yeah, what am I showing you? And why is this the way, why do I think that's important? Like, why do I think that's even a milestone? Is this the only way to live one's life? Is this, so it's very much just kind of using that, premise, that high concept, as just a way to explore life and to cherish life and to uh, yeah, remember that we've this is all fiction. This entire human thing is a fiction and in a script that you're handed when you're born, basically, and it's actually pretty good fiction. It's I'm not like ragging on life, but it is fiction. I mean, uh, all right, now you go to school because this is what we all made up. We made up this system, and it really works awesome for many people. But many people, it doesn't. It doesn't really go with who they are, and it certainly didn't go with me growing up. I was always just like, what is it? What am I? Why am I in school? What is going on? Why do I have to go do that? I don't want to go do that. I mean, okay, I guess I got to go do that. So that's kind of what it's about. It's sort of a re-examination of life in a kind of comical way with some drama and some hopefully moving moments in it, and a kick-ass soundtrack by my band, the Blackstrap Molasses.
Well, that's
And
certainly a nod to Hal Ashby. I mean, Cat Stevens drove
yeah, I
Harold and
love this
Maude,
movie.
and yeah. But I want to get out first. I should have done this at the top. Is that the film's on Amazon Prime? So that's not just go rent it. This is for you lazy folks who will only watch what's streaming. You got in the streaming game. So back to the music. This is again a true indie film because you're the writer, you're the director, you edited the damn thing, you're in it, and then so you had to go find someone to do the music, and you got the Blackstrap Molasses. Surprised, also you. So
It really all sounds. I also admit that, like, upon hearing this, like, oh god, like it sounds like it's going to be awful. Like, it's not like someone tells me. I mean, let's be honest. If someone tells me, like, I'm the writer, I'm the director, I edited it, I did the music for it, and I star in it. Oh god, oh god. And I was very aware of that. I honestly, I always had this vision of doing a movie like this since I was a kid, and even did some little plays and mini movies where I was doing all these things as a child. And then, you grow up and people tell you, and rightfully so, they tell you, you can't do all those things. You got to pick a thing and get good at it and earn a living at it.
mm-hmm.
And it was good advice. And I took that advice and worked really hard as an actor for a bunch of years and pretty much got nowhere. And then started my music around age of 22 or so, and had that on the side, and then pursued that a little bit, and immediately was like, I hate it. I don't want to pursue music. I love music. I love making music. I have no desire to be a whatever rock star or anything. And then I started writing. I'm like, I think I'm just a storyteller, not just a storyteller, but a storyteller. It's great. So I started writing screenplays, and all in the back of my head, that little childhood kind of delusional notion of like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that, and you know, it's stuck around. It stuck around. I couldn't shake it, and so each time I'd sort of, I'll try to be an actor, failed. Try to be a musician, hated it, failed. Try to be a screenwriter, and that was actually the first thing that got me in the door of some places, and I started selling some, low rent screenplays for like sci-fi, horror kind of genre stuff, and I the entire time I couldn't shake this dream of making these. Well, in a way, yeah. Going back to Hal Ashby, it's almost like making a Harold and Maude type of a movie, like a sort of sweet, bittersweet comedy with one artist doing the music, except that would also be me. And I tried to do that one time, and I couldn't really figure out how to do that, because it's not, the movie is not the music in this movie is not like, hopefully not, on the nose kind of music. It's not like, oh Tom, what are you gonna do with your
Got
short-lived
one
life?
day to get through
Yes.
this.
So to really figure out how to really be, tap that other part of me to write music that's more abstractly commenting on the character's sort of collective psyche of the world of the movie, rather than like, being to, and yeah, and my first attempt was horrible. Was like my first song was like a Jess, that is the nurse theme song, and it was exactly that. It was like, I forget how it goes. It wasn't that bad of a song, but it was very much in that vein of,
Jess,
Jess,
yeah,
what are you gonna do? Yeah, I don't know.
you're a flawed hero. Da, da, da,
Yeah,
da.
yeah, totally. And I was like, okay, that is exactly what I don't want to do. So I don't know. And I did also look for other, like I was really pursuing Jeff Tweedy from Wilco, just because I know a couple people who, I don't really know him, but I was really pursuing. I knew what kind of music I wanted. I'm a big fan of Wilco's album, A Ghost Is Born. And there's a song on that album called Hummingbird I almost think that song was like the kind of inception point of the idea of this entire movie. And the song is not about, that doesn't tell the story of this, but there's a feeling about it. It's a really sad song, but it's also kind of comical. And it's very much about, life is sort of like a hummingbird. It's just like flying fast and then it's gone. It's, and this line in that song, his goal in life was to be an echo. And I love that. I love that song. So I think that steered me into a particular vein of songwriting that seemed to work. And then I found just amazing musicians in Chicago who I'm not a very good musician, but I just really found amazing musicians who, everybody in Chicago was like, how the hell did you get him? That guy's like really expensive. And they all worked for, sorry, but they worked for Chicken Feed but they believed in the project. And I'm extremely grateful to them all. Yeah.
So this theme is important to you. Clearly you've talked about how, living life to the fullest and all that is sort of, potent. Is it potent because of who you are now after all these experiences? Has it always been something, like you said, you were in elementary school going, what about, this is the path I have to follow, this is required, da da da. And Pixar's Soul is covering something like that too, about how you want to live your life to the fullest. So any more personal connection to what led you to make this your first?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, maybe. um, we were really trying to raise money for another movie to be my first movie. And now we're basically at the deadline and we have about $80,000. And we really did a reality check on us. And we're like, look, this movie, if I'm going to really make it right, this movie is more like a Hollywood low budget movie. This is actually like a $4 million, $5 million movie. Like this is not a $100,000 movie. So I said, but I have this other idea for a movie. And my producer, James Sharp, was like, oh, what's that? And I said, well, I was watching a documentary at like 2 a.m, like a 4-minute little doc on YouTube, scurrying around YouTube. And it was on the mayfly. And the mayfly is this insect that basically lives for about 27 hours and is like born, eats, screws, has spawn, dies. Like, and I had in the back of my mind, I was brewing I wanted to make a road movie with opposites on the road. I love those kinds. They're just fun. I love those kinds of movies, whether it's romantic or buddy or whatnot. And I wanted to do my kind of magic realism type thing that I like, or lo-fi sci-fi, which I kind of like. And I was thinking, oh, maybe one of them's an alien or whatever. I'm like, that's been done. Starman's. I'm a big John Carpenter fan. I should always want to mention him because that was sort of. I blame him actually for erroneously giving me the idea that that's what directors do, that they write, direct, and do music for their own. Honestly,
True,
that's kind of I have him to blame. Because I used to tape his music like for his movies, just like with a little micro cassette recorder off of cable, early days of cable.
How committed are you? Did you go see the tour when he toured out playing his music?
I did see him in Chicago.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it was fun.
Well,
It was fun.
You are legit.
No, I got a shirt coming my way that's got what has it got? Antarctica 1982 on it, like in the
Nice.
the beginning of the thing.
Yep.
So I go, I think and I've been thinking about a movie maybe where like somebody's going through like dog years, like, you know, like a dog is, you know, and I was like, and I love dogs, and I'm like, yeah, but I couldn't really figure it out. And then I saw that doc with the mayfly, and I'm like, boom, I got it. That's it. You got a little ticking time clock of 24 hours or whatnot, and I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to make a story out of it. And then really back to the essence of your question, man. When I think about it, look, you know, in reality, you a lot of artists and myself included, you don't know where these things are coming from, and you do them, and then you kind of reflect on them almost afterwards sometimes, right? And you're sort of like, yeah, where did that come from? And I honestly think it's, yeah, I got a lot of mortality on the brain even before COVID. I think I had a lot of early death in my life, with uh, you know, grandparents normally, but like some tragedy, some losing good friends in a fire, and like, you know, in fourth grade, and then my
Mm.
favorite teacher, who I was very close with and really believed in me, like dying. And so there was a real there, I did have, you know, I had a lot of shocks to my, you know, also like my family, we almost all died in a car accident. Very, so, uh, yeah, it was a lot. It was like, I kind of had like an absolute idyllic childhood, suburban, you know, life of a, you know, North Shore of Chicago and all that stuff. And then basically after fourth grade or so, I got pretty seriously depressed, and started withdrawing after all that kind of death was hitting me. Um, so back to that, I think when I started writing this, I was definitely realizing like, yeah, you know, I'm just finishing uh, grad school at a pretty old age, you know, 40s, but I mean, it's not that unusual, but you know, there you are, you're in your 40s, you're with a bunch of kids, you know, uh, and then I'm also back in Chicago, and I'm looking at my parents, and they're, you know, in their 80s now, and yeah, I'm really was seeing, and I was also like, if we don't make this movie now, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a chance I've been trying to make a feature for the last 15 years and just have not been able to get the financing together, and had many, many close calls, and did the whole normal route of, you know, let's get the star attached and we'll do it if the money comes in, doing, you know, doing the whole Hollywood game. Very exciting, came very close various times, you know, developed a movie with Joe Dante, you know, met like um, um, Ken Watanabe for a movie, like, so, but just you know, tons of like, and I just was like, all right, I got to go to grad school, because I'm basically a guy with a script under his arm. I don't know how to do anything. Like, I don't know how to film. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to record my own music. And I'm very jealous of all these 20-year-olds, to tell you the truth, who grew up with this stuff. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So jealous. Like, I really felt like I was like, I'm born in the wrong generation.
Yeah,
Um,
kid, go down and get $3,000 worth of film stock, and then see how much fun this is.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. You go to film school, you cut film with a razor blade. You see how, I mean, that's what I did. Like
Yeah,
back in the late 90s. It sounds like like the 1890s, you know, when you talk about it. Like, I had a razor blade and I taped filmed it.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I could feel the clock. I could really feel the clock of time. I could really feel the clock of age, um, saying to me, "Well, you better do something big now. You've been thinking big and dreaming big, and working on this and that to make these things come together in some capacity, whether consciously or unconsciously or both. It better be now or never." So there was definitely a kind of now or never thing like surging through my whole life at the time we
No,
started
dude, it
writing
sounds
this.
like it's all leading to this. Like, you
Kind
know what I
of,
mean?
honestly,
Everything
yeah.
from
It's
childhood stories through your education, through, you know, the reflection on your life. It's like it's all led to this, and I think that's awesome.
thanks, man.
And
Thanks,
that you
man.
did it. I mean, how many? I mean, you know how many movies are unfinished. If you're done, you've already won. And then when you execute like you did here, you know, you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I just want to get the word out there about it more, and so thanks again for having me on here.
Well, I think Prime really helps. Again, I don't want to. I want to make
Yeah,
sure I
yeah,
stress that out. It's easy to get and watch in a click. Now we've
yeah.
ventured into indie filmmaking challenges, right? So choices you make because you're not just constantly calling back to the head office of the lot and getting more money for whatever mega blockbuster you're working on.
Right.
So, with that, what other challenges did you have to overcome? I saw the locations were donated. That's always a good thing, right?
It's amazing. That was, yeah. Look, I don't know if I would have gotten as many locations on this movie if this story didn't hit something with people who I was talking to. It was very like if I was, I could be wrong about that. If I was, but if I was making like a a horror movie or the usual route for like your first movie or something, yeah, I don't know. I was floored by you know how much was donated to this movie. Uh, Horse ranches and architecture tour boats on the Chicago River, and I mean some pretty amazing stuff that looks very expensive, doesn't it? And I knew that was like that was the key. I didn't want to make a feature, my first feature, be a bunch of people in a few rooms. You know, look, Chicago's that's my city as a kid. That's as a child being taken to Chicago as a little kid. I just was always like, oh, I gotta make a movie here. Look at the L trains and the buildings and just Hollywood certainly comes here. I'm not saying they don't come here and shoot. There's tons of stuff going on here, but it's very much like, all right, let's go to Buckingham Fountain. All right, there's the Sears Tower. Okay, here we are in Lincoln Park. All right, that's Chicago. It's not. It's like I mean, they're pretty, but a lot more to it. So I gambled that I could get talk to people and get stuff and I always here's an indie film trick. It's not a trick, it's just reality. You're not going to have stars in your movie, so you need to make the locations like the Tom Cruise of your movie. You've really got to like uh, I think it's wise. I think it's wise to think of your location and the people you're talking to, who you might be able to use their location. Like, love those people. Those are your stars. Treat those people. Treat the horse ranch owner. Um, they're the star of the day. You're visiting in their world. And I can't believe how many filmmakers and film sets, and even sometimes I caught it on my own set. Um, just people, I don't know what it is about movie sets. Like when you move into location, you just don't, these people don't care about like where they're at. And they're just like, yeah, smoke a cigarette and put it out on the horse ranch lawn. And like we're moving in. It's like, look, we're working hard. This is, I don't care about who owns this house I'm in. I got my job to do. It's like, no, 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 actually, the boss of the day should be the person who owns that house. That's who's running the day. That's your star. The location is the star. You need to pamper the location and the location people and bring them into the process and include them and have lunch with them and make friends with them. And when you go even ask these people, don't go in there asking like, hi, I'm a big important movie person. I'd like to you. No, it's like just assume they're gonna say no and go make friends with them. Go make friends with them. And they probably will say no at first. And then don't take no for an answer, but don't just keep trying to make friends with them, you know? Just be curious about who they are. I can't stress that enough. Honestly, I can't stress that enough. It makes me sick the way some people behave on location regarding the treatment of the location and the people whose lives are being lived in this location. So that's really essential, and I like to think that maybe that's why I was able, with that attitude, that's why I was able to kind of get these locations for $0 or very cheap. I mean, very for a song basically. Uh,
And you never know until you ask, also, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't. You don't. You could be like, well, we're never going to be able to film in that big. bank or whatever. Not that there was no bank, but I'm just saying an example. Like, oh, we'd never be able to get a giant tour boat and commandeer a tour boat on the Chicago River. That's going to be friggin' expensive as hell. I mean, I was getting estimates from other big Hollywood folks who were like, yeah, that's going to be about, that'll run you about 10,000, 15,000 to get a boat for a day. And I'm like, well, I don't need it for a day. If I really buy tickets on the boat and really map out exactly what I'm going to do, I could probably get it all done in about an hour, 2 hours. Um, so yeah, you really, yeah, I already said it. You really gotta, you gotta cater and honor and treat the location and the location owner or whatever as that's your Tom Cruise of your movie.
Well, it's interesting to hear
That's your
that
big star.
because I already took away "Be Nice to Everyone" as probably one of the themes of your production because the cast is all people you've worked, a lot of people you've worked with before as well. And you see that from your level right up to Adam Sandler. It's like, look, I just want to be around people I like. And so if you're nice, you'll work more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard work, right? It's hard work making anything really, but it's hard work making a movie. And you're not gonna love everybody you work with. I'm more concerned with I'm not totally in the camp of say like I like the story of Kevin Smith who makes movies with his friends and some of them are good and he's like he remembers it might have been Harvey Weinstein. He remembers Harvey Weinstein telling him like, look, we're like you're in the big time now. This is not about making movies with your friends. And he was like, well, why not? And I like that. But it's not about that. I mean, it's a professional workplace, and I hope that the people who are close to me are really my inner sort of world sanctum. Like, yes, I hold on to them for dear life. My good friend James Sharp and producer, and my older brother, executive producer, and
You'd worked with Bays before,
yeah.
your lead actress, haven't you?
No,
No, I thought you did a
no.
short film with her.
I knew Bays only through a friend of mine at DePaul University who made a short film with her.
Ah, okay. It was a
And
couple
I had
degrees.
seen that short film and she had no dialogue in the film. She was a lead in it, but it was a kind of a live action animation hybrid movie, excuse me, live action animation hybrid film. And I just thought she was amazing at it. I just thought like her face and her eyes and her behavior, you know, was just everything. And so I auditioned probably about 100 or so different young women for the role, and she was a little bit younger than I wanted, and so at first I was not going to cast her, and then we did something very important too, which I recommend for when you're doing casting. If you're really like you're unsure between, you got your 2 or 3 or 4 people picked out, you gotta project them up on a big screen. Project them up on a big screen. Don't just be watching stuff on your computer, your audition tapes and whatnot. That's fine to start off with. It's great. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty and you're really like, I'm not sure between these two. And once we put Bays up on the big screen, I was like, whoa, what was I even thinking about? That's it. That's it by a mile. So that really yeah, that had, but I hadn't worked with her before, but I'm hoping that this movie really, knock on wood, that it really launches her. Because boy, if there's been anything universal about this film, mostly we've gotten really strong reviews for the movie. But even some of the bad reviews have singled out Bays as like, wow, who the hell is that? She's going to be a star. I've never heard of her before. Where is she? And I even had the director Rod Lurie loves this movie. It made me so happy, and has been a real great supporter of the movie, and was very like, wow, who is that lead actress? I really would love to work with her sometime. She's really great. So it was fantastic. It was, as Bays said in some interview, she said like, how you make these little short movies with a college or something, and you do it, you're racking up experience, and the theory is, hey, you never know who's going to maybe see this sometime. But really, you're like, whatever, I'm going to do it, and I'll do a great job, or I'll try to do my best. But I don't expect anything to actually come of this little short film I'm making it in a graduate school. And lo and behold, that was a case where it was like, well, somebody saw it, and now she's has her first lead in a feature film because of this, very good short little film that she made.
Well,
Yeah.
that leads me to two more questions because you mentioned like being in something and you never know who's going to see it. So this film made a run in festivals, CineQuest, I noticed, and Dances with Films. You won
Hmm.
an award even.
Hmm.
So how was the festival run overall for you?
It
And
was.
did it bleed over into COVID times at all, or was it
Oh,
already
this is good.
purchased by Gravitas?
This is a good story, man. So this is crazy. Yeah, so we're submitting our movie to festivals in 2019. Um, and I'm still kind of working on the movie, but we've submitted to, the majors who have like markets attached to them that you need to get into: South by and Sundance and Toronto and Berlin, and uh, and I know they're really hard to get into, but I kind of had my heart set on getting into South by, because I just thought like, oh, the music and and I think it's gonna appeal to them. And no, we didn't do well. We didn't do well with the seven, biggie major festivals, but we did well with like the next tier down. We did like CineQuest and Dances with Films, and some other festivals. We won a best narrative feature at Albuquerque International Festival, but I and we did very well again in Europe. We just got an honorable mention for best film and best director at the Paris around Paris International Film Festival. And who else is looking for it? It's Rotterdam, Amsterdam. So it's getting into some international festivals, which I love. Uh, but yeah, I was hoping for some more festival love. We all want to get into those top seven tiered festivals, because yes, that can really blow open some doors. Um, but we were doing okay, and then here comes our world premiere, um, to screen at the Silicon Valley CineQuest Festival, and it's going to premiere March 6th, 2020.
Okay.
And so here, and I'm like, my parents are all excited to go to San Jose and see their son's dream come to fruition or whatever. And I said, hey, I'm hearing about this like virus. That's a new virus. There's no vaccine for it, and it's like really dangerous for people in their 70s and 80s. And I kind of think maybe you shouldn't go. And my dad was like, nothing in the world could keep me from going to. Okay, so I fly to San Jose. I meet my brothers there, and it's like rats fleeing a sinking ship. San Jose at the time we get there, and I'm talking to the festival people. I'm like, is this still going on? Like, no, we're still having the festival. We're still having the festival. I'm like, okay. Seems like, is San Jose usually this empty? I'm like, well, it'll be all right. Okay, so I'm getting my clothes on and trying to look my coolest or whatever best to go to the premiere. Um, and now I'm starting to see the texts, and I'm like, South by Southwest canceled, blah 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 blah, blah. Canceled, COVID. And I'm looking at the news, and the news is saying hotspots now in the United States appear to be San Francisco and San Jose. And I'm like, this is perfect. So my dream comes to fruition, and I'm going to be killed by a virus because of it. Yeah, I was very distraught. We did actually screen there, and then that night, and it was not. I mean, whatever. There was 20 people there. I was very grateful for that, quite honestly. Very grateful. and they loved the movie, and it was also very helpful to me because I could also sense there's some tweaks still to go here. There was a scene where I was like, that's gotta get shortened, and there was music cues that needed to be, yeah. So it was very helpful creatively to me to watch it with an audience.
And
But
then you
then we
found
got
yourself with ample time to make those changes.
exactly. And then we got the hell out of there, and everything else, all the other festivals were canceled, and we even had a big screening plan for LA for industry folks, canceled. And then we made the decision, the executive producer and I, to just say, you know what? I don't even think there's going to be a festival run on this movie. I don't even think there's going to be a festivals. Let's just go after distributors like right now. Let's just pick up the phone and start calling and get our agent to go shop it around. And yeah, and so and I had my eye on Gravitas Ventures in the first place because they're
And back in February, I talked to Paul Osborne, who I think we're mutual friends with,
oh, Paul,
and
yeah,
Patrick
Paul and I
Day
were friends.
about Cruel Hearts, which you can get at Gravitas Ventures as well. And I
Absolutely.
just talked to Blaine Weaver, his horror film Getaway is there as well. So
Mhm.
a lot of good
Yeah.
titles over there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, yeah. Paul and his wife and I we're all really close. So they're good people. So yeah. So I also knew that Gravitas Ventures was a name. It was a name. Right or wrong, it's a name. You say that to the lay movie fan, and they actually know that name. Whereas you say most of the other distributors in that kind of tier, like I don't even know. I don't know what that is. So that was good. I was really happy that they were really interested in it. I don't know if I played it right. Maybe I should have waited another year and submitted my film to to Sundance and to South by, because they took a look and it was an unfinished film. It was still, the color correcting needed to happen, and the music had to be properly mixed, and it wasn't done, but the cut was pretty much done. The cut was actually done. But look, personally, I think movies stink until they're absolutely done. I kind of do. Even your own movie, even your own baby, you're there's it's like, I mean, you think about it, like movies like Jaws, right? You ever see like Jaws on TV as a kid, and you see those scenes that were cut out, and you're just like, wow, yeah, that would have sucked if that scene was really in the movie. That's a stupid scene. What is Quint doing? I remember hearing about, they shot some whole giant movie theater scene where everyone in Amity is watching Moby Dick in a movie theater, and Quint gets up and is like, "This is crap." Like, that was actually, they filmed this, and I'm like, so look, even the greatest movies. I mean, I'm sorry, even like The Godfather, until that thing was absolutely done, like a movie is not a movie until it is absolutely done.
Well, I
So,
get Blu-rays and deleted scenes, and I watch them, and they're crap. That's why we deleted them. I guess it's
yes,
entertaining, but I'm like, well, thank God they got rid of that.
yes.
Most of the
Oh
time,
God, oh
sometimes there's a
God.
gem, but most of the time, it's like, well, I see why they did that.
And sound is so important. Like, having good sound, that's the difference maker between having a real movie and not having a real movie, to tell you the truth. It's not
It
even
is,
the
because
right?
cameras look so good, and anyone can get a good looking camera. You can get a good looking camera on your phone. And so
Yeah.
my friend Mike always says everything is brilliant on YouTube with the sound down. As soon as you turn the sound up, you're either now in tune with the quality or the content, and either could be crap.
Yeah,
But it'll look
yeah,
good, because that part's become easier over time.
yeah. It's really true. So that was a big deal to really get the sound right, and I worked very hard with a company in Chicago called Noise Floor, to get it right, and get it more right, and get it. I mean, but look, I was working on this film, quite honestly, after Gravitas said, "We're taking your film. Like, this will be awesome, and get us all the components by June 15th." And let me tell you, I was working on this movie until June 15th.
Mhm.
Really, to get everything as, and all of it audio. Quite honestly, it was all audio. I did maybe like a nip of one scene, just took a little bit out of one scene based on my previous big movie theater screenings at CineQuest and at DePaul University. But that was about it. The rest of it was just me tweaking sound, me not happy with the way the opening music started. It didn't grab the attention of the viewer, saying like, this is this kind of movie we're in for. Let's, it's very important, right? To like, just whether you, it's very important to establish exactly what kind of movie are we in for here. Who's the author of this movie? What's the point of view here? Very early, especially these days, but I think in general. And I didn't think my movie was doing that yet, and it wasn't because of the edit. It was because of the audio wasn't mixed right, and the music itself wasn't quite right. So I redid the entire opening music section, and that helped. At least it helped me a lot. I was really like, I was not quite happy with the movie, to be honest, until all audio components were really absolutely nailed. And then I was like, okay, I made a pretty good movie here. Like, this is actually okay. This is now a real movie. This is a movie. It's not Citizen Kane, but this is a solid first film. And I was yeah, I'm proud of it. But it's funny, right? I mean, people don't talk enough about audio. It's not very sexy, I guess, right? People
Yeah,
don't.
but even if you're not attuned to, if you're just casual viewer, you know right away. If like, wow,
Absolutely.
those people could have been mic'd, and I would have been more drawn into this film or something. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Separate. It does. It is a separator, a quality separator between projects, no question.
Totally. Totally.
But now, I got one more question for you because you've mentioned
Sure.
Jaws, Godfather, Citizen Kane, the greatest movies of all time. So I ask everyone who I talk to who's a filmmaker or a comedian or actor or anything really,
Sure.
the movie guys, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, it's a silly cliche one, I would say. It's Jaws.
Oh, okay. So
Actually,
that's why you know so much about it. You've delved deep into it over time.
yeah.
And not the
Yeah.
first time I've had that answer, in 250 plus interviews or whatever. I mean, it's clearly come up a bunch. It
Oh,
is an all
oh
time
yeah.
classic.
I want to say something cool and obscure, but it's like, I like where it's just like, I knew what question you're about to ask. I was like, Jaws, like it's coming up in my mind. Like, look, I was making my own versions of Jaws in my bathtub and filming them like as a, in like 1979, or like as a 4-year-old, whatever the hell, like was had a rubber shark and a little adventure people boat, and doing the whole thing. And oh, it
Doing
was
scenes
addictive.
that they would have cut.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing the
The
Moby
chase
Dick
scene,
scene.
yeah.
um, so it's an incredible movie. It is. It's sort of the perfect marriage of like those early 70s character centric, world centric movies meets crazy ass Roger Corman dinosaur monster movie. Like it's
Yeah.
it's really like a kind of a bizarro, like it's like if John Cassavetes directed a monster movie. I mean, it's
Yes.
very, and with Alfred Hitchcock whispering in his ear as a ghost director. It's really fascinating, and also great lessons to be learned about making of a movie, and when things go wrong, which they always do, how to be constantly
Hmm.
in tune with, well, what are you really trying to say with your movie, and do you need to have that, and yeah, obviously referring to like that they couldn't get the shark to work ever, and so they went from like, okay, we're making a monster movie, to more of like an Alfred Hitchcock The Birds type of a situation, and we're going to really zero in on the characters and the town, and we're going to use the fact that we can't see the shark in a productive way. So lot besides being an incredible movie, it's great lessons to be learned from it. My runner up to Jaws, as far as favorite movie of all time, I mean, yeah, it might be Citizen Kane, The Godfather. It might even be. Recently, someone asked me what my 10 favorite movies were of all time, and it changes on a day. I said at that moment, trying to be cool, but it's sort of true. Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. I really love that movie. That movie feels like you're in someone's dreams, like
Hmm.
in a very real way. It's amazing. I was just watching a clip from it the other day, the part where Martin Scorsese plays Van Gogh, and the guy walks into the Van Gogh painting, and beautiful movie. My taste is extremely wide. I feel like if I can get a sense of what the filmmaker is trying to do, um, and they're doing it, I get very excited. So my taste is kind of like really all over the map. I mean, one of my favorite films is Robert Bresson's A Man Escaped. Um, taught me
I
a
don't even know
lot.
that one.
Taught me a lot. Talk. Look up Robert Bresson audio, or what is it? He has this sort of he's a great French filmmaker who had this very austere, um, very influenced Paul Schrader quite a bit, um, and he had this belief that if you want sound and vision, uh, your brain can't process both fully all at the same time. Even though Hollywood mostly is like they're throwing effects at you and they're throwing louder and rah, rah. And that's why when you're watching like a giant spectacle movie and there's just amazing things going on, you're sort of like, I guess I should be wowed, but it's just been going on for like an hour. None of it's really landing. It's just a lot of noise, image and sound, a lot of noise.
But enough
And
about Wonder Woman.
and Bresson
Uh,
and Bresson was, I really like the first one. I haven't seen the second one, but I've heard, obviously.
yeah,
Um, uh,
don't rush.
Bresson was very much in the school of, uh, if you want the audio, if you want the sound to be important in the scene, make your image very dull. Make it dull, make it flat, make it uninteresting even, so that the sound and your ears are now really taking in into your body, even like the importance of it, and then vice versa. Uh, if the image is really important, let's let that sink in and brain process that, and let the sound be a supporting back, an extra in the scene. And he really did that. I mean, to a point of like, wow, it's some of his films. But A Man Escaped, Diary of a Country Priest, and uh, Balthazar the Donkey, I think is the name of the film. Those are my Bresson masterpieces, and I do take those lessons of his to heart about the kind of juxtaposition and interplay of like, okay, let's do the sound first. All right, now we're going to do the image, and I think that's a really vital thing that even Schrader, who has said, his movie First Reformed is a great. I mean, Schrader's great because he's such he experiments. He plays with the medium and he's not afraid to take risks. I mean, his movie Dog Eat Dog, which no one saw, with like Nick Cage and Willem Dafoe, is amazing and feels like it was like made by like a 20-year-old. It just feels like whacked, experimental and crazy and in your face, over the top. Really fun, really interesting. But then he made First Reformed, which I thought was the best film of by far, in 2000, 1918 when it came out, I forget. But that was his Bresson transcendental style film, and I really love that, and I was so happy to see that in a theater, because you can't really watch these movies at home. They're hard. They're hard. They require your attention. I mean, what do I watch at home? I watch friggin' Family Guy and Monty Python's Flying Circus episode. I don't really watch. I miss the movie theater. I am
I
an
do
old
too.
fuddy duddy in
Yeah,
that
but
capacity.
the art was meant to overwhelm you, and if you're watching the movie, this is my remote, but if you're on a
Totally.
phone or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like, watching the movie a little bit. Oh, Wonder Woman did something. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and Warner Brothers
Totally.
sent this. I'm going to go on off a rant, but Warner Brothers
Yeah.
sending all their
Whatever.
movies to HBO
HBO
Max,
Max.
so you can watch Dune on your phone. Is catering, I think, to the slackers. A lot of people are like, good, I don't want to go to the theater and be bothered by all the people in there anyway. Well, now you're telling all the people in there, hey, great, don't pay attention to the movie. We'll be at home. Now they're saying stay home and half watch our movie. And if you're going to half watch the movie, why are we making it?
I mean, I know most of the world, a large percentage of the world This is an interesting point. This is an interesting point. I wouldn't mind. I don't want to take up too much of your time on this either, or my time. But the same thing is, for getting into this whole movie theater talk is what this is about the survival of this industry.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like the Movie Theater Association of America, or whatever it is called, motion theater owners, and the whole movie industry, and even when people talk about this, like, um, oh, you got to see, like, whatever it is, Tenet on the big screen, Wonder Woman on the big screen, whatever it is, the new Avengers movie. And I'm like, boy, if there's a movie that I actually don't mind watching on my phone or my laptop, it's a superhero movie. I like superhero movies, by the way. I'm not ragging on them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they're perfectly entertaining little things to watch on your phone on an airplane. Am I really going to watch First Reformed on my phone on an airplane? No, I'd actually probably not. No, I'm not going to pay attention in the same way. No, are you kidding me? Like, you really need it to be dark and get into this slow, transcendental kind of cinema. So what I'm trying to say is, I actually think everyone has it wrong. Like, the big movie is going to save the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, we all have flat screens now. Like, many, even like people, low income folks, have a pretty nice flat screen. They're not that expensive anymore. And a little stereo bar. You can watch Wonder Woman on that. I think that's fine.
Well, we live in a backwards world, right? Where people will watch The Crown at home in huge flocks. Yet, if you make a Queen Elizabeth movie, stick it in the theater, I mean, it's not going to do as well as whatever James Bond is doing. So I don't know how you crack the code to flip the script and get people to see the good stuff, like in the way you're talking. Because you have you're definitely reverse guy in terms of how the studio is handling their attempts to woo people back to the theater, which is 3D and IMAX and da 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 da.
I think they got it
But I
wrong.
don't know how to crack that code.
I think they got it all wrong.
Yeah.
I honestly think they all have it wrong. I remember seeing. Do you remember the Jonathan Glazer movie Under the Skin with
Mhm.
Scarlett Johansson? I'm a big fan of that movie. I couldn't watch this movie at home. It was too disturbing and weird and slow and quiet. And I got my dog and I got like stress on my mind of oh, I gotta be doing my bills, and like, no. But I saw this movie the first time at a packed house on opening weekend at the ArcLight in LA, the Cinerama Dome. Um, it was one of the greatest movie viewing experiences. People were just totally into this shared experience of this bizarre movie and watching this singular vision. Like, it was just so incredible. And I don't even think I would have liked this movie if I saw it at home, or I would have been bored. I would have been looking at my phone. You know. So personally, I think just like cable channels have channels now. Like, if you go to, like, if you have like a Roku and you go to like something like a Pluto channel, then Pluto channel is basically made up of, like, it's the Star Trek channel, it's the Mystery Science Theater 3000 channel, it's the 70s movies channel. Like, I actually think movie theaters should do that. I think they should be neighborhood, smaller movie theaters that cater specifically to, hey, we show art, we show elevated horror movies here at this theater. Hey, this theater shows big blockbusters. This theater shows romantic comedies from all time. It'll never fly. I'd be
Nope.
laughed out of the room.
It won't.
But I actually think it's true. I actually think it would work. Get out to the theater and have a collective shared experience with strangers, wrapped in attention of this art house horror movie like a Hereditary. Look, I think movies like Hereditary, or what's his other film that he did that was great?
Midsummer.
Summer, yeah.
Midsummer. Yeah.
These sort of art house horror films, and just the art movie in general, um, that watching those movies with strangers in the dark is, I mean, take Get Out. Get Out's a solid movie. I know it's a solid movie at home too. I've watched it at home as well, and it's fun. It's a great movie. Doesn't come close to watching that movie as I did at the, where was it? Roosevelt Theater, whatever that is, kind of southwest side of Chicago, with mostly African American audience. That movie was an absolute, the greatest roller coaster I've ever ridden on, the most fun I've ever had, the most thought provoking. Like, it was a transcendent experience watching that film in a theater as compared to watching it at home where it's good.
Yeah, the worst thing Warner Brothers did was put the announcement out there that they were sending everything to HBO Max and didn't tell the filmmakers. Like Denis Villeneuve made Dune so it could be exactly what you're talking about. Huge, shared. They were mixing sound for the theater, and they had all this stuff prepared.
Sure.
And then it's like, well, we're putting on HBO Max. He's like, well, what can I do? You know?
And he makes, those are these giant, but they're kind of giant, quiet masterpieces.
Yeah, Arrival,
like Blade Runner 2046 or 2046. I forget what.
49.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I don't know if I'm literally the only person that has this perspective, but I hope not. But I just, like, doesn't that make sense? Like, yes, you would watch a superhero movie on your phone. Be fine.
Yeah, I'm an everything in the theater guy, but you're flipping the script on what the studios are trying to do is a noble cause. Absolutely.
Good luck with that.
Maybe you've said it's a failed endeavor, but it is a good one.
I've got a lot of what, Don Quixote in me. I think that's my my cross to bear. My cross to bear, said the Jew.
Let's wrap this up with plugs. So, Time of Your Life again on Amazon Prime, and if you must rent it or buy it, Google Play and Vudu and those type of places. It's currently there because that's the other thing about streaming. You never know how long it'll be streaming on Prime. So get out there and watch it soon. But if not, it's always available for rent. And the timeofyourlife.com is the place to go. Any other plugs? Yours personally or anything?
No, yeah, you can go to satori.studio, which is the website. There's like no .com in it. You can just do the satori.studio. That's my production company to keep track of, like, oh, what's this guy got going on next? Or and then maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's like the Blu-ray and the DVD. Yeah, buy Time of Your Life, the Blu-ray and the DVD. But I'll say, like, there's literally like no extras on it, just because I just couldn't get it together. So the next round, I would say, almost is going to have the soundtrack on it, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. And people have been calling me a lot for, like, where's the soundtrack? You said it was going to be ready by Christmas. Yeah, we're all working in a kind of COVID trance right now of pretending like life is normal. So it's taking a little longer than I anticipated. But the soundtrack will be coming out this year. And later it'll hopefully be included in extras on the DVD and Blu-ray. So the Blackstrap Molasses, it's a great band.
And everything I'm up to, go to themovieguys.net and at the Movie Guys everywhere. There's social, pretty much Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole shebang. And of course, more interviews like this with aforementioned Paul Osborne, Blaine Weaver, and a recent interview with Alicia Witt. There's much out there to see, so please check it out. And thank you again, Jeremy.
Very welcome, Paul. Thank you so much. Great to meet you. Great to talk to you. It's fun.